Let's keep it vibing along with our module 2 based on the new laws on deductions for tips. So at this point, we're at module 2, section 2. This one is basically determining the amount of qualified tips received by you as an employee or you as a non employee. So under section 224, paragraph A, an employee may deduct an amount equal to the qualified tips received during the taxable year and include on a statement furnished to them by an employer such as a W-2 or a 4137 calculation or a 1099. And these tips would be in cash only. This was the completion, told out the total part of the bill. Part of it is not in place yet, and so we're not receiving this on our information forms. So we have other ways that we can actually do the deduction, as we said before in our other modules, that the deduction is valid. It's just the reporting is going to be delayed until 2026. So with this in mind, we'll have other ways that we'll be able to report that and be able to find that number. So one is you can use the total amount of your Social Security tips reported on box 7 of the form W-2. Number two, you can use the total amount of tips reported by the employee to the employer on all form 4070, which is employee's report of tips to employer or any similar type monthly report that you have. And if the employer voluntarily reports it this year, it would be located probably in your box 14. We're not quite sure what code it would be, but it would be in box 14. Now, if you don't have any of these other things, then you may have to keep your own receipts to see your documentation of exactly how many tips that you had for that year. And as long as it's a reasonable amount, the Internal Revenue Service and most agencies will look at things on a relative basis. So relatively, there's a certain percentage that is a tip percentage, and if that's your income, then your percentage should be relatively close to that, relatively speaking. So you can kind of determine that based on how you want to do that. Now, as far as non-employees, and that are ones that would possibly receive yours on a 1099-K. And a lot of those already are the third party payment centers. They already break down sometimes what is a tip and what is not. But just like with the employees on the W-2 and their allocated tips or their regular Social Security tips, you may not receive anything on your 1099 or a type of reporting period. So you will be open to the same documentation to be able to um, deduct those tips for other industries. So what we may suggest is on that, you would keep receipts, your point of POS system reports. You can print that out, what is tips is not. You got tip logs. Your settlement sheets for most of your third party basically break things out by tips and not tips. So whatever that is, that may be things that you will be collecting this year that you didn't really think about you having to have because just finding that number, you may have a few $100s or a few thousand, whatever it may be with your position in tips. But now that won't be taxable and that may make a difference, but you have to have secure documentation for these deductions. So we want to make sure that you have ability to get them, but it doesn't seem like it's too difficult. Most of the systems have it broken down. It's just working with the other situation. We'll be talking with you a little later about the deduction for overtime pay. That one's a little harder because most people don't keep that information. So we'll be talking about that a little bit later. So next up, we'll talk to you a little bit about a few examples that we have, and that conclude our modules on tips that will be deductible in 2025 tax return.